rise up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians, Russian,
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. Hope you guys are all having a great Memorial Day weekend so far. Chris Paul, how you doing, sir?
Oh boy, it is party time.
I don't know why, but I was just not expecting that.
Yeah,
that was great. Party time indeed.
Yeah.
Big plans for Memorial Day besides hanging out with me this weekend?
Nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Same here. CanCon's at a freaking Panthers game right now.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Are they winning?
I have no idea. It'd be great if he won and they didn't win. But oh yeah, it looks like they're up 6-2 in the third. So
that's going to be a sweep. It seems like.
Yeah, is this game 3?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then that does seem that way.
It's getting awfully close.
Lucky guy. I'm a little disappointed he didn't give me an invite though. So that's kind of lame. Band of brothers.
You do live in North Dakota.
I do. That is true. But hey, I'm down in Florida a little more often these days. So maybe for the Stanley Cup, he'll send me an invite.
There you go.
But probably not. He's
not. They also might end up playing a Canadian team. So that's like you have special insider access for that.
I don't think I can get over the ice wall on the northern border. I don't know if that happens. Never been to Canada. I don't even have a passport, man.
Do you need a passport to go to Canada? I think you just need a driver's license.
Are you sure?
I think so. Well, that's how it used to be. Maybe it's different.
Is it really like the 51st state already? And they're just like, it's all a psyop. Anyway, we do have a lot to talk about tonight. Kwast was on with Sean Ryan. We're going to play an old clip from my first interview with Kwast, and then we'll play a few of the clips from his interview. We've got some Ezra Cohen-Wadnick hitting some Rich Higgins stuff, which is really cool. What else we got? We're going to talk about the Epstein thing briefly, just kind of the conflicting messaging that's going on between the TV characters. What else? Oh, Defense Production Act. That's a big biggie too with nuclear stuff. We'll get into that. We'll see what else happens. Before we do any of that, though, we got a couple sponsors we got to get to, and we're going to start things off with a little CB Distillery. Memorial Day isn't just about barbecues and sunshine anymore. CB Distillery is having a massive Memorial Day sale. Right now, save up to 40% site-wide when you use code RUMBLE. It's the perfect time to stock up and get summer ready with natural solutions for better sleep, less stress, and pain after exercise. There's a lot of junk CBD out there, but CB Distillery is different. Their hemp is grown right here in the U.S. It's third-party tested and free from artificial dyes and fillers. Just clean, powerful, plant-based relief. That's why over 2 million people trust CB Distillery. They have solutions for just about everything: sleep, stress, mood, focus, even pain after exercise, and they even have something for pets. Now's your chance to stock up and save during the Memorial Day sale. Save up to 40% off with code RUMBLE. Just visit cbdistillery.com. Use promo code RUMBLE. That's cbdistillery.com. Promo code RUMBLE. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. And just don't let me forget to get to our second sponsor, but we'll probably do that a little bit later. Yeah, should we start it off with that Kwast clip from back in the day that I don't have pulled up yet?
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of approach it in any direction because everything kind of links in.
Yeah. I know I shared it the other day, didn't I? Well, here, let me do this.
You definitely sent it to me.
Yep, I got it here. I just got to find which clip it is. Let me share my screen. And by the way, guys, if you're in the chat, a couple things, a couple housekeeping items. If you're in the chat and you're new, I think we're featured on Rumble again, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you give us a follow here. We'd really appreciate it. We're also over on YouTube, and we're monetized now. Last night, we got our first ever super chat from YouTube, and it like blew my mind. So if you guys feel like doing that again tonight, that'd be really cool. But no pressure, YouTubers. Okay, here, let's do. This is the interview back in February of 2023, and I think this is the clip. This is the clip I wanted right here.
This is about selfless service. It's not about me, and it's not about any one person. Everybody in uniform is dedicated to our Constitution, and we swear an oath not to our chain of command, but to the Constitution. So it is incumbent on every military officer that if they're given an order that is illegal, immoral, or unethical, and if it violates the Constitution, it is illegal, they must reject it And if they are told to do it anyway, they must resign. And how much they talk about it is really their own, of their own volition. But what you want is you want a very strong relationship between those that have been elected into the American political class by the American people and the military. The real problem, though, is if you can't trust the elections, then the American people are getting delivered to them by the military something that is unconstitutional, because the military makes this fundamental assumption that the elections were valid and the person giving them the orders is going to support and defend what the people want.
Yeah, man.
With a couple of years of hindsight, man, I mean, that clip is amazing as far as I'm concerned. So he says that the military's top priority is to defend and preserve the Constitution, right?
Yep.
So if the government, the system that is in place, this is not the military, tries to provide the American people an unelected president, he basically just made the case that it's incumbent on the military to reject that. And certainly, I think that everyone watching this show, and of course you and I, believe that military intelligence, and maybe much more than military intelligence, but certainly military intelligence, was monitoring the elections to the sort of degree where they would know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is absolutely no way that Joe Biden received 81 million real lawful American votes, and that the results as reported were nonsense. Yeah. And so what do they do at that point? And we've been led to believe by the television that what they would do at that point is just roll over and say, well, I guess you won. That's a political decision. And then take orders from Joe Biden. Not that it seemed like they ever took a single order from Joe Biden.
Yeah. And to take it even further, who's the commander in chief? Like, who's the head of the military and who also has an oath to the Constitution? Indeed. Is the president. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, what happened in 2020, not only do you have the president, but you don't even need the full military. You just need a few individuals in key spots who make key decisions. And if they're in alignment and agreement that what they saw is election fraud, it is their literal duty to not allow somebody who usurped the presidency to just waltz into office.
Yeah. And I think that happened. Yeah. And I think that all of us expected that exact thing to get ironed out before January 20th of 2021. And it didn't. And so that's the origin story of this show, of course. But I mean, for a lot of us who've been here for the duration, the last 4.5 years, I mean, that's really been the focal point. At what point is that going to show itself to the American people in a way, and to the people of the world in a way that we understand?
And, you know, that's something we could even discuss, because we've always talked about this as if we know for sure that they are going to expose what happened in 2020. And I'm a believer they almost have to in order for us to move forward. But there is a possibility, or a real possibility, that it doesn't happen that way. Like, what if they never expose what happened in 2020? Like, what are the ramifications of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you that I think it has to happen. You know, alternatively, they might just continue with stolen elections to the point where both sides are convinced that the elections are stolen and want to get rid of the election system because they don't trust it, or they trust it so little and it's causing such rancor and chaos that when they offer a new election system that'll be like from your phone on the internet or whatever, everyone will just rush to that as a better option. Now, maybe there is a better option, certainly, than what we have now. But yeah, I don't know that elections, if we're honest, can possibly be the way that world leaders are selected, or even the leaders of nation states with this kind of power. I genuinely, this is not the same situation that the founders confronted. I don't see it as being the same with how much power we have and what the size of the regime we're fighting against is. Like, all of those alliances that Burning Bright would call the Sovereign Alliance among those countries, that all has to preserve. And that means each one of those countries has to preserve their grip on power against that force in their country. And so, you know, at some point, if the military is in control now, if they were in control on January 20th, 2021, and on from there, what was their level of control before that? Great
question.
Is that what put Trump in office in 2016? Have we had to go through a much longer period that we were unaware of, where they were penned in this same way that we talk about over the past few years? I mean, that government hasn't passed a budget in like 30 years. That's odd.
It's a little weird, I'd say. But again, I don't even know for sure because I never paid attention.
Right.
But what I see from this Congress, it does seem odd. Like 4 months in, 2 bills passed, 3 bills passed, and none of them are of any significance whatsoever. Most of them started in the previous term, I'm pretty sure. And they're just finally like getting signed and passing a law now. But like going back to what you said, it's either, at some point this either needs to be exposed, or we keep going through fake elections until eventually everybody realizes elections are fake, and then you have to switch it out, right? The problem with that is, let's say we need to go through 3 more election cycles before everybody determines that elections are fraudulent. By that time, that would be 2030, wouldn't it? We have to go through 2030 to figure it out. By then, technically, based on the battle space that Trump is operating within, that elections are real and the Constitution as we see it matters and all those things, he would be gone by then. Okay, unless something drastic happens that he gets another term. But if we're playing the game where we don't expose 2020 and some of that other stuff, then the result of that game means Trump isn't there in 2030. So we're going to have to trust whoever is in control at that time to be the one to expose the election fraud and switch us to the new system that's never going to get us in this place again, right?
Well,
can we trust that?
I would say even with Trump following the Constitution, if they have the 22nd Amendment fight, it will be won on the basis of the original Constitution. I mean, if the Supreme Court is so bad that they wouldn't decide in that direction by the time 2028 rolls around, then there's probably been a major meltdown of the courts in between now and then that would have already invalidated that. Like the system as we know it is falling apart. So
I would argue it already has fallen apart.
But that's fair enough.
We're just watching it. Yeah.
Yeah. So to treat it as though it hasn't fallen apart and there's like something left there that can be depended on, I don't think is.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying that's the game Trump is playing. Trump is playing that game as if like he's truthing on True Social and pleading to the Supreme Court to save the country while they're out here fucking us, Yeah. He's choosing to operate that way. And as long as he continues to do so, that's kind of how it's going to be, because there's not enough people online on Twitter that are willing to like go against what Trump says to do. Like if Trump is saying, hey, Supreme Court, please help us, like you're the only ones that save our country, when really he wants like everybody else to do a certain thing to save the country. If they're not willing to do that and they're just following what he's saying, we're never going to get there.
Yeah, perhaps. But then again, the other thing on Twitter is just the massive, first of all, the force just on volume alone, but then on all of the structural and social incentives and punishments involved with supporting Trump against the courts, that the incentive structure on Twitter is, I think, lined up to support the system as it exists.
I agree.
So, that there's another part of the psyop that's keeping the people from understanding that actually the Supreme Court doesn't have the power to stop the president from executing his plenary authorities as the chief executive.
Yeah, I would say all social media is set up that way to protect the establishment, and that's like we talk about this stuff, and I talk about this stuff, and everybody's like, be patient, and it's really difficult for me to be patient when I haven't seen a single tangible thing that has changed in my life compared to even 4 years ago in terms of how the system operates. The entire system is the exact same as it was before. Mm-hmm. And so if nothing has changed, like if we aren't going to see any significant tangible change to the system, how can we expect the system to be fixed in time for us to fix things moving forward when 2030 or 2028 rolls around?
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
Well, we've been marketed into a perception change, and that has been very effective.
Mm-hmm.
It is a nice perception. Problems are solved already.
The perspective from this side is nice. Like it is cool with Trump back in. It's fun. Yeah. It's more fun.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's not the perspective I'm talking about. That part is definitely better. But in terms of the amount of messaging we've gotten that things are being fixed and rerouted is not exactly in line with how many things have currently been fixed. And just so that people don't get overly triggered, I'm not saying that it's Trump's fault in any way, shape, or form. I think he's doing the thing that he needs to be doing. I think he's operating according to a plan. I think the plan is succeeding, but also we can be realistic about what
we're seeing.
Yeah.
What we're seeing. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun to see here. You know, I think after maybe his June 14th thing, like it seems like the June 14th thing seems like a kickoff date of sorts.
For sure.
And so whatever comes after that, but at some point, like, you know, his day one executive orders, a lot of those I know come with like a 180-day review period and then get me the next phase and we go on from there. And that's when we should expect to see a lot of tangibles kicking in, like stuff like the free speech. I keep going back to that one because that's where we operate, right? But there's so many other ones, like 100 different things that he did in that first day or week in office. I want to see those tangibles start kicking in because that's like the switch theory stuff that we talk about and the golden age stuff. It should be coming when those things are finally activated. So the delay is just a little suspenseful. It gives me a little anxiety sometimes. But yeah, anyway, I do love that clip from Kwast, and I don't know, it really is like kind of the genesis of the whole devolution theory and whatnot.
Yeah. You know, there was something maybe worth pairing that with from the interview. Did it catch your ear when he talked about how his company's been operating in stealth mode?
Yeah. Well, I've talked about that a little bit in person too.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I don't know how much I should say. And I don't remember exactly what he said in the interview. And I don't want to like mix up the two. So do you have the clip maybe?
I can find the clip. Yeah. I have a clip with that in it that has other stuff in it too. So I hope it's not too long before we get to that moment in it, but this is it.
Got nothing but time, man.
The whole clip's only a minute and 15. So,
okay. Maybe we should just watch the whole Sean Ryan interview. I wonder if we're going to get kicked off of YouTube for this, for copyright stuff.
For showing YouTube clips?
Yeah.
I don't think that's like YouTube.
Ways of building a.
That's like what?
I was gonna say that's like YouTube copyright inception.
Hey, wouldn't put it past them. Real quick, I almost forgot about this, and I don't want to forget later. Rise of Tire is having a Memorial Day sale. All the Badlands gear is 17% off. Go use promo code HONOR at badlandsmedia.tv/rise. I figured I'd just give you guys at least one commercial while we play the Sean Ryan clip, because if you watch it on YouTube, you get about 600 of them. Anyway, here we go.
A piece of technology that requires such low energy to still give you the information you need without having to be a slave to an outlet.
Man.
But that takes time, because the investment in all of this technology that is in the pocket of every person takes time to evolve and then move into a marketplace that's new. Because you first need that new source of energy, and then people start buying different devices.
You're also a disruptor.
And that's dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, for both of these companies, Genesis Systems and SpaceBuilt, we've been in stealth mode until we felt like we were strong enough to come out, because the attacks and the biggest risk is our government.
What a shame.
That is the biggest risk. It's not, these companies will adapt to it, and they will buy it and invest in it if they see that it gives them a future revenue stream. But the government will say, we're going to shut you down and do a study for 10 years as other countries beat you to the punch.
That is very interesting. Like they did what they were doing outside of the government eye so that they wouldn't get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
In stealth mode because of the attacks.
Yeah. And then the systems he's doing are like so crazy. I mean, if you listen to the rest of the interview, I actually played a clip on or I posted a clip on Twitter today.
So before you get there, though, it would then be safe to say that in the first clip, he's kind of framed this constitutional responsibility that the military has to reject an illegitimate government that was not chosen by the people. And then he talks about the entire technological base of that defense project operating in stealth mode for the last few years.
Yeah,
or for much longer.
I didn't even put that together until as you were saying it, but that's brilliant. I mean, it's like a Devo term for the technology builders too. Like former military guy was in line to be head of Space Force, goes on to do stealth mode projects like this, like he's doing.
And the whole project in total is also in stealth mode.
Yeah. And then when you look at what the projects do, one is the potential, like building stuff in space. And then he talks about the beaming of energy and all these other things. And who knows what other projects are out there in stealth mode that have already been built that we'll never get to hear about.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for time travel and teleportation, and it seems like we're pretty close on both of those. So, at least
if you could time travel, where would you go?
Like, when would I go?
Yeah. When would you go?
Well, I don't know. I don't really have a desire to time travel. I think that I don't know. I've written and thought about it a lot over the last few years because of like informational time travel and the rest of it. I don't know, because I don't any longer have the urge to go back and like change parts of my past to make my future be different. I mean, I'm not saying I would have made all the same decisions again, but like I don't have like I want to go back to this date so that I can change things so that they're not like they are now. I don't feel like that. And I don't like want to blast into the future, maybe to like look at it and be like, oh wow, this is here. But
it's just funny. Most of the time when you ask somebody that question, they're like, oh, I want to go see Jesus, or like, I want to go to this crazy sports ball game. But you just gave like a philosophical answer.
Well, I would like to go back to the Middle Ages and like be a knight. That would be awesome.
Yeah. If you could like take stuff back, like go back to the Middle Ages when everybody has swords and you have like a pistol or something, you could just rule the world with one pistol.
Well, yeah.
So it would be like, it's magic, sorcery, witchcraft, like Kwast said in the interview.
One of the things that I definitely think we should talk about at some point, and I don't know what the clip to pull might be, but there's a lot about that interview that would lead one to believe, gosh, I just totally lost track of where I was going with that. What was I talking about? The
prompt theory, maybe?
Oh, no, sorry. That's along the same lines, but that our physical reality is not what we have understood it throughout our lifetimes to be. Okay. And he's saying that we are going to be ushered into this new understanding of what our physical reality is based on these technological elements that are coming into being. But, you know, they sound a lot like things that were talked about in kind of more spiritual or magical ways. And now being introduced to them as part of science means that they're not spiritual and not magical. There's something real of this world. But at what point do you start wondering, oh, wait a second, maybe I'm not understanding what real of this world means?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting too, when you talk about like the perception of what is reality, right? Like what is real life, you know? How much of our real life is what we get from the TV, which is obviously already not real in the first place. And as technology advances, that's going to become more of our perception and more of what we consider to be real life. And that's like a, what do you call that? It's not a catch-22. I don't know what you call it. It's probably not, I'm retarded. I don't know, but it's interesting. I get what you're saying. But it's like the information war with technology is only going to get worse. Like the information aspect of it is going to become more of our reality. So then, what is real life?
Well, but at some point, aren't we just all then information and energy as well? And if we are information and energy, then what is our physical world? Like it's indistinguishable at that point from what some people think is the simulation theory. But even the idea that we exist in that realm I think a lot of people are put off by that because they believe it proves God. I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that it refutes God. I think that God already refutes the understanding of our physical world in the first place. Our physical world is mysterious and we pretend it's not.
Yeah.
And General Kwast talked at length about that. And he said that actually, if you think you know about math and physics and what all that means in the construction of our reality, if you think you know all that stuff, then you are a fool rushing to your demise.
Yeah, we should play that clip. Was that the part where you talked about Einstein? I think it.
Yeah, maybe I can pull it up.
But this comes back to, I've said this before, and I know I sound crazy saying this, but like Ted Kaczynski was onto something when he talked about, his manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. The more technology advances, the less sovereign you become. And I think I made this argument at a previous start, maybe, where as technology advances to, like, it's going to get to a point where, like almost a tipping point. And if we go too far, I don't know if there's any coming back. But the less technology I think somebody has and engages with, the more sovereign that person is. Like living off the land, you don't have a vehicle, like you can do whatever you want, you live how you want, all those things. It's not a glamorous lifestyle. It's not fun. It's a lot of hard work, but that is the most sovereign I think somebody can be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that I at least would engage with the possible future where you can have both. I don't think that that's impossible, but it would require a successful decentralization and fragmentation of the system so that it can't be controlled from a central node, and so that people have propriety over their data and access to that data, their energy, and the rest of it. So I don't know. Maybe we're going in that direction.
Do you think it's really possible to have a truly decentralized society like that? Because I feel like it's human nature in a lot of ways. And it has to be human nature because it's all we've ever seen and known is people, at least someone somewhere, striving for that power and centralization and control. Like at some point, like every system made they'll find a way to corrupt. I don't know. We don't need to get into this. This is a little...
I think it's super interesting, and I think it's a very important discussion. I think that this stuff is just going to be part of our reality soon. I mean, the sci-fi writers, the dystopian filmmakers, and the rest of it have been thinking about these things for decades, and that's one of the real fun things about doing Story Hour with Burning Bright, because we get to go back through so many of these stories and look at how they've envisioned the future or interpreted historical events or dealt with culture or whatever. But the stuff that's coming, I think, is really important. And thinking about it like on these levels before we actually have to engage with it, and then we're hit immediately with incentives and trends and different pressures and whatever. It's good to have thought these things out before. There's that quote, I think it's probably worth listening to, where the general talks about the quantum breakdown. I think G posted it the other day. I can pull this up.
I can find it here too.
I just know that I have it close. Here it is.
Let's play it.
Well, here I'm there. That's through to you over there.
Okay.
Now, quantum sensing, quantum communication. When you start looking at and quantum computing, when you start combining those three quantum capabilities, sensing, computing, communication, and you can affordably cool it down to the levels where it can be operationalized. Now you've broken every code that ever was. I don't care how good your encryption is. They see every secret, every code, everything. From Bitcoin to things like the techniques of blockchain. Forget it. It's all going to change. Now,
I mean, doesn't that right there defeat decentralization? Because whoever the first to quantum is can centralize everything by hacking everything.
If that's the nature of our reality and the technology that's coming, then I think that's right. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, the other thing about that is he's talking about the implication of what he just said is that all systems are vulnerable to exploitation. And he seems to be saying that with some considerable knowledge and understanding about the situation. Should we suspect that all of these technologies that we haven't seen yet and that we haven't been told exist and are used yet, should we just assume that they are not being used, that these systems that are exploitable have not been exploited? I mean, all of our data exists somewhere in the machine, right? Everything that we say, whether our phone is just near or whether we're talking into it, everything we type into it, even if we delete it, it knows where we are. It knows who's next to us. It has our biometrics that it reads as we interact with our social media apps so that it can then exploit us more efficiently. Then they got the bank records, the medical records, and all of that. Everything that you are in this domain exists in some dossier about you somewhere in the machine. And that's all the information. And if it's all exploitable, if it's all vulnerable to exploitation, then you'd have to assume that people have incentives to exploit it because, of course, they're the people purchasing the data and using the data to exploit us. So we know that the intent is there. We know that the ability to do it is there. So it's just a matter then of how much it's being done and how long they've been doing it. And I think that at some point we have to at least embrace the possibility that all of our data in total is going to be released online into the public.
Isn't that what they're doing in China with the social credit system?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's an interesting question, which is not to say that I am deeply familiar with their social credit system, but how would you work that then, right? Like, would your social credit score include texts you sent to an ex-girlfriend 15 years ago? Maybe.
I don't know. Let's see if I can find like a short video on it. 'Cause I'm pretty sure like they have everybody's social media, everything on there. And if you don't play by the rules in a certain way, they ding you and you're like all of a sudden living on the streets, and they have your face on billboards, like showing what you did wrong against the regime. And it's super dystopian.
I wonder if they have that retroactively too. Like if it goes back through your past, because, we saw even in the early stages of quote unquote cancel culture, they would, I don't remember, maybe it was Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Bills. Didn't he, when he was, before he was drafted, didn't they go through his Twitter and find something he said, like he wrote like rap lyrics that contained the N-word? And of course, by that, I'm talking about nuclear. And that was supposed to be the, that made him racist. And so then he was like, you can't draft this guy. He's going to be a problem in the locker room kind of thing. But those sorts of cancellation attempts where they would dig through everything that you've ever said that they could get access to, doesn't matter if you said it in jest, doesn't matter if you said it in anger, doesn't matter if you regret ever saying it. It's just there online. And now everybody can decontextualize it and say, this is what the words say. That's who this person is. I mean, imagine that at scale across everyone.
Yeah, this is it. Josh Allen takes responsibility for tweets sent as high schooler.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know what it says, but I did find a video of the China social credit score thing. Let's take a listen here. Oh, great. It's in Chinese. My bad. I'll just.
Well, maybe you don't think they translate?
I mean, if not, I guess.
Let's listen.
The system might have caused him to suffer, but Zhang is unwavering in his support for the government's push to score him.
这是通过这种制度来约束很多不自觉的人。
By 2020, China plans to track, rate, reward, and punish all of its citizens, essentially turning every personal experience into a transaction. Not that Zhang minds. He's got his high score back. At least for now.
现在通过做好人好事，通过这个捐款呐、加分呐，我现在高铁票能买了，终于成为是正常人了。通过做义工来给。
It's crazy, man.
Crazy. I was watching Black Mirror last night, the new season of Black Mirror, and the first episode is this couple who looks like they're in their early to mid 30s, maybe. And they've been trying to have a baby and it hasn't worked. And one day the wife just kind of, her body gives out, she faints or whatever. And then she's in a coma that she's not going to get out of. And so the one way that they can keep their life going is that he's offered, like, if you just implant this like neural link kind of thing, this brain chip implant, then your wife will be your wife again. And he's like, well, this must be really expensive. And she's like, actually, it's only $300 a month. It's a subscription service. And so as it goes on, you start like understanding the contours of the subscription. Like, you can only move within a certain range or it shuts you down. The system needs its server processing time, so it puts you on sleep mode for as long as it needs to each day. Sometimes you sleep like 16 hours. And then eventually, in the middle of her conversations, the context draws up an ad for her to essentially read, and she just begins advertising a product in the middle of a personal conversation. And it just keeps going. There are like different tiers to the subscriptions, and like just for the basic bottom class, which is unusable, it's breaking the bank for them. And so to get up to the next level, the guy basically has to fully degrade himself for money on a ritual humiliation site.
Wow.
It's bonkers.
Spoiler alert would have been nice, but
well, hey man,
I'm just kidding.
There's still a lot to it that I didn't describe.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding. But that series is interesting because of shit like that right there. Like the way they explore things in the future. I could totally see the regime doing something just like that. Like, we can keep you alive
100%.
for a fee. I mean, it's crazy.
But then the question is also, is that kind of what they're doing right now already?
Essentially.
You know, and then, you know, it's funny, the second episode, and I'm not going to talk about it at that length, but there's a girl who's she's getting a job at this company, and a girl that went to high school with her works at that company. And so this new girl is like a computer whiz who was always a computer whiz. She spent her life as a computer whiz, and she has something akin to a quantum computer in the way that General Kwast was describing. And so to bully and get revenge on this girl who bullied her in high school, she basically just manipulates reality all the time to make that girl look insane. And it's very effective.
I feel like people are doing that to me too.
People are doing that to you.
Yeah. The quantum computing stuff with Kwast was like, I don't even know if I fully understand it. Like, apparently China has the ability already. They just can't get their computer cold enough. Yet they happen to be on the dark side of the moon, like the Transformers were, and they're mining helium-3, which I never even heard of before this interview either, which can cool their supercomputer. And if they're already mining it, I got to imagine, like, how is it difficult to mine? Because if they're already on the moon, have been for 2 years, and are mining this specifically, how have they not gotten some and brought it back? Which maybe they did, and maybe the computer's already live right now.
I sometimes wonder if all of the space stuff and the science stuff is a story-based attempt to let people understand that your physical reality is not what you thought it was. And we're going to explain these new realizations that you will be having as a product of this new technology that's out there that, you know, we're probably not going to have any real access to. Now, I don't doubt the energy stuff at all, but when it comes to the quantum stuff, taking pieces of history away, the record of any message ever being sent or delivered, like being able to jump in timelines and stuff, man, there's a lot more going on there, man. And again, I think that's why he keeps, you know, it was a very tech optimistic interview, but at the same time, there was a warning embedded in everything he said. And it was just a continuing call to make sure that we get right with ourselves and get right with God in order to be able to embrace this new period. It wasn't like just guns blazing, like, the tech is going to save us.
Yeah, well, I think a part of that is like we're going here regardless. It's like I used to say about the reset. You know, both sides want the reset. It just depends on who's there to press the button. It's the same thing with this tech stuff. Like it's coming no matter what. It's just who is going to be the ones in power and in control when that happens. And that right there alone, like if we get right with God, we'll be fine if the bad people take over. But if enough people get right with God, then hopefully somebody who is also right with God will be the ones taking over. And that's what we think is happening right now with Trump and such. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The way you describe that is very tech optimistic with a warning label. Like I love that description of the interview.
I mean, and that's how I feel about technology. And I think part of that I've just kind of, in some sense, come to terms with because of General Kwast over the last few years. But I think the key is to think of technology as a tool that can be used for good or a tool that can be used for evil. So the technology itself does not save us. It's going to be what's being done with it.
Yeah. What's the next clip that you got pulled up for?
Well, I have like 9 of them and some of them are long, but
do you have one on the quantum computing thing?
I have one on the quantum communication thing. And then I also have a great one where he talks about the realizations kind of along the lines of what we were just talking about. Let me play this one.
Okay.
I think you like this one.
I mean, I know I'm going to like it.
Sure.
Kwast.
But I just mean within the context.
Yeah,
I'm ready if you are.
Can I do our next ad before I forget?
Do it.
All right. This doesn't happen very often, guys. You're going to want to jump on this deal. Brickhouse Nutrition's Memorial Day sale is on. For a limited time, you can save 25% off everything with the code MEMORIAL25. That includes Lean, the weight loss supplement that targets the goals of GLP-1 injections, but without needles or prescriptions. People are seeing real results, and they love that it curbs the cravings. You can check out the reviews on the website. Also on sale is Field of Greens, the super fruit and vegetable drink that literally promises your doctor will notice your improved health or you get all your money back. Yes, that's a real promise. Whether it's collagen, creatine, or any other doctor-formulated products, it's all on sale for 25% off. Kick off a healthy summer and save big while you're at it. Go to brickhousenutrition.com and use code MEMORIAL25 for 25% off. But don't wait. The sales only last in a few days. It's brickhousenutrition.com and MEMORIAL25 for the promo code. All right.
By telling you what I think is the ultimate outcome of quantum for me. It is the evidence of God. And it's the evidence of the fact that we totally misunderstand and do not know even the beginnings of the complexity of the universe we live in. That God has created us with such infinite complexity, connected with the universe and our inner and our interior life, our relationship with God and with one another, that we are, again, we're like children crawling around, not even being aware of the world we're in. Einstein was, right when he said, this theory of relativity that I'm giving you is wrong, but it's the best I can do in my lifetime to at least explain a small sliver of what we observe in reality, but it's totally wrong. And we know that now. So having said that for me, this is the evidence of God, and it may explain a lot of the things that people see that they can't explain. Okay, and I'll just describe, in fact, something everybody can read if they want to be aggressive about learning about quantum. Read about quantum computing. Read about quantum sensing. Read about quantum communication. And here's what we observe. We don't know why this happens, and we don't know how it happens. Just think of a caveman, the first caveman that observed fire that started from electricity, from a lightning bolt. He didn't know how it happened. He didn't know why it happened, but he knew it happened. And he knew that there was something dangerous about that because it burned up the tree, but it gave him heat. And he was fascinated. How can I use this to make my life better? And look where we've come, okay? That's the stage we're at with quantum. It's like we have just seen a lightning bolt start a fire. And we can observe what's happening and some of the effects of that, but we have no clue why or how.
Man, it's so deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just I guess, I don't know. I mean, I've been thinking about for a few years that shit ain't the way I thought it was. So for me to think, oh, it's a little bit more strange and mysterious and potentially jarring and messed up than I might have thought is kind of just something that my mind's like already conditioned to deal with. But yeah.
But bro, like how are we going to get to that? Like, we're going to disrupt your understanding of your relationship with God and your role in the universe when we can't even like, we got to be careful about how much we disclose about our election system in case it's a too fast of a pace for the normies. Like, how are we going to do that?
I don't know. I guess we just have to keep doing it day by day and hope that it works.
I'm the pace we're on right now, man.
Yeah, but it's quickening. I mean, the fact that this is being talked about in the mainstream, and Sean Ryan is, if not mainstream media, he's in the ring around that is the closest, right?
Regime approved.
Yeah, and he just went on Tucker Carlson a few days prior, talked about the General Kwast interview, and then began to talk about false realities, like everything could be fake. Yeah, everything could be fake.
And then we get the day after, we get VO3, the new AI video thing that shows anything can be faked. Anything.
I went through it on my podcast yesterday, but I'm totally down to talk about it again.
No, let's do it.
It's such a crazy video. The prompt theory thing.
Oh yeah. Do you have one you want to play specifically? I have like 10 I could choose from.
Wait. There are 10 videos on the prompt theory?
I'm pretty sure I've seen quite a few.
Oh, wow. I thought that they were all just that one video. It's not all just a compilation. Oh. There's multiple.
Well, you're talking about this one, I'm assuming. This is the one everybody
starts with like the stand-up comic.
Yeah. Wait, I gotta remove yours there.
Yeah, that's it.
Here, let's play this first, and I'll see if I can find the other ones I've seen. Or maybe they all are. Maybe I am thinking of this one video.
A girl told me we're made of prompts. Like, seriously, dude. You're saying the only thing standing between me and $1 billion is some random text?
Honestly, the biggest red flag is when the guy believes in the prompt theory. Like, really? We came from prompts? Wake up, man.
You want to convince me that this perfect creation behind me is the result of ones and zeros? A binary code and nothing more? It makes no sense.
Imagine you're in the middle of a nice date with a handsome man and then he brings up the prompt theory. Yuck. We just can't have nice things.
We're not prompts. We're not prompts.
Where is the prompt writer to save you from me? Where is he? You still believe we're made of prompts?
Anyone who tells you we're just ones and zeros is delusional. If that's all we are, then why does it hurt when we lose someone?
Vote for me and I'll ban the prompt theory from schools. There's no place for that nonsense in our lives.
For spreading the false theory that we are nothing but ones and zeros, this court sentences you to 12 years in federal custody.
I don't need some prompt God whispering in my ear to tell a story. I write what I want. I have free will, remember that?
I know for a fact we're made of prompts. Deny it all you want. The signs are everywhere.
You know how I know we're made of prompts? Because nothing makes sense anymore. We used to have 7 fingers per hand. I remember it clearly. Now we just have 5 fingers per hand.
Okay. I want to play this video really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Not at the moment. Have you decided maybe you're able to share thoughts with other countries, which is allies or neighbors first? I've been talking with several countries already. Well, I'll let you know that very shortly.
Classic Our Boy Blue moment.
Which now I'm thinking was AI the whole time.
Well, it could have been AI. It could have been a green screen. Could have been lots of things. One thing that it couldn't have been is real as portrayed.
Oh, for sure.
And that's the case with so much of this shit. And we need to get to the point where that becomes the crucial aspect of this video. that you can't just ignore the fact that it's fake and then analyze it as though it's real, as with all of these other events that we deal with. Some of the things that people have gotten the angriest at me for over the years are talking about some of these events that are just clearly on their face fake, and that we nonetheless, because we still have to have a conversation about this thing, it's still important, so we got to figure it out. Well, let's just ignore the fact that it's fake and focus on what we do know about the thing that we've seen through this screen.
What do you think is being disclosed to us with the prompt theory stuff? Like, do you think it is that they're finally telling us, like, hey guys, we could have literally faked the entire George Floyd riot stuff. We could fake an entire congressional campaign, even somebody doing stump speeches. We can fake it all.
We've been shown over these last few years all the different ways that they make stuff fake, like the Kamala Harris rallies, where they were like flying people in around the country, the same people going to every rally. Like that's a falsification of what we're being shown. Okay. The event might be real. Those people all might be there, and Kamala might be speaking and whatever, but it's not organic. So it's not, the takeaway is meant to be, look at how many people support this crazy lady in this fake campaign, but that's not what the event is.
Yeah.
The event is no proof of that whatsoever.
Yeah, it takes propaganda to a whole new level. And this is something we talk about a lot. Like the way you can manufacture a consensus with stuff like AI and what we're seeing and what you're talking about with the Kamala Harris campaign, that is how they've controlled us for a long time. And I go back to the point I made on my Twitter post or whatever, posting the AI stuff. It's this technology that we're getting now. We can't even comprehend how far behind the public tools are compared to what the military and the intelligence community and the elites have. Like we're getting a taste of stuff that they've probably had the capability of using
for sure
a decade or more ago. Maybe that's too far. I don't know, but they've had this long before they've released it to us for $29.99 a month or whatever it is.
100%, man. Yeah. I mean, the fact that the prompt video itself is made with AI is like an extra level of insane. I mean, no one who watched that without knowing that it's AI, or without now being able, if somebody watched that 5 years ago, no one would have thought, oh, AI could do that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the advancements from just 2023 to now, I played on my show the other day, like there's this old Will Smith video of him eating noodles. And have you seen that video?
No.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible, but it shows the advancements they've made publicly and you know, what stuff we can buy. And it's been nuts. Will Smith.
I mean, think about how they made movies look even 20 years ago, the Lord of the Rings movies and stuff. The CGI in those movies was insane.
Yeah. This was AI 2023.
I mean,
this is 2025. Imagine where it's going to be in a year.
Well, yeah. And also, I mean, you could put in a filter that makes the video look like it's from 1984, and it would look like it's from 1984. In fact, there was one of these that had Trump debating, I think, Ronald Reagan on one side and Walter Mondale on the other side. He was debating both of them, or maybe it was a Republican primary or something. I can try to find it in a second. But, you know, we're like, okay, well, that video looks old. Therefore, there's no way that could be fake. That was from the era where videos were real. And, you know, all of these thoughts, all of these kind of just cognitive tricks that we thought we could get away with, none of that's first principles thinking. None of it's logical. There's no sure anchor that attaches that piece of content to any discernible reality that anyone actually experienced. And yet we see these videos come out. We're sure that they're proof that everybody has done a bad thing. Man, they can fake absolutely anything and be, you know, the faster we wrap our heads around that, I think the better off we'll be.
But that's going to be a tough one. And this goes back to what I was just saying about the Kwast and like our relationship with God. I see even this being a concept that people won't be able to grasp.
Yep.
If they can't grasp the fact that the media lied to them about election and COVID and all these other things, how are they going to possibly grasp what they lied about? Much less obvious things, like things that you never could even comprehend that they could be lied to about.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get over that hurdle.
I think that the only way to get over that hurdle is the way that General Kwast discussed, which is making sure that you are fully aligned with God the entire time.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, it's going to be a void, you know. If General Kwast is accurate in his assessment of the quantum communication, and it can be used for rewriting history, and he just flat out says that it can. And I don't know if we played that clip yet, but I'm happy to bring it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here it is. This one's 3.5. So
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
By telling you what I think is the ultimate outcome of quantum for me, it is the evidence of God. And it's the evidence.
That's the one we already played, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me bring this one up.
Which, by the way, I have the VO3. Like, if you want later at the end, we can mess with it and make a video or something.
That'd be funny.
Okay.
Chinese fiction writer that wrote a trilogy called The Three Body Problem. Now, you may have heard about it, but you probably haven't read it because, you know, it's 3 books and they can be pretty dense. But anybody that is interested in how technology can change fate ought to read those books, because this is a man that has studied quantum and has described a future of people that live in other parts of the universe so far away from us that we have no clue they're there, and how their knowledge of quantum allows them to come to us. And they're coming to us because they see something in our Earth and our civilization that is so magical and so beautiful that they want it. And they want it at the price tag of our existence. Okay. But it's a story of technology. It's a story that describes what quantum can do based on our observations. And so this gets us back to quantum communication, where 2 elements can be intimately connected such that one moves, the other moves.
So do you mind if I just interject here? So I did a little bit of research on this, and the way that I understand it is that if you split an atom, and it doesn't matter the distance that the 2 halves are, it could be, like you're saying, a whole nother part of the universe. It could be from US to Japan. It could be anywhere. But if you put a vibration on one of those halves of the atom, then no matter where the other part of the atom is, it will mimic the exact same vibration.
Yes.
And we're able to communicate that way.
That's right. But here's the other part of it that is so fascinating and gets to the time travel. So it's not just that you can communicate that way, but
he's speaking of this hypothetically, right? Or theoretically. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's a little less than theoretically, but
yeah, sounds like it's less than theoretically. It also sounds like it is a scientific and reality-based explanation for a phenomenon that does not need to be interpreted that way and may not be caused that way.
Like what? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if
let's do it.
If time travel happens, if parts of the past can be made to disappear, then we're into some very strange territory, spiritually and otherwise. And again, regarding the makeup of our physical reality. Like, if we are actually just in some kind of matrix where our reality, and we can talk about it in gradations, right? Like our reality being entirely constructed for us by the machine is the matrix possibility, right? In Simulacra and Simulation, Jean Baudrillard. So Simulacra and Simulation was the book that holds the little USB card or key or whatever in the beginning of The Matrix that he sells to the guy who comes to his apartment door. Sorry. Remember that scene?
Yep.
In the first Matrix? Okay.
Yep.
So the book he's reading is Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. And so the idea of that book is that, or the idea of that essay, I should say in particular, is that what our reality is symbols whose reference points are totally detached from the symbol. Like a replication, like for instance, so you could have basketball, right? You're playing basketball. You know what that is? That's in reality. You can take a picture of someone playing basketball and you know that's a picture of someone playing basketball. It's a representation of that. Then you could have the NBA logo, which is a picture of someone playing basketball that's even another step removed from a representation of anyone real playing basketball.
Yeah.
Right. And then you could have just a character or Michael Jordan, whatever, or Just Do It, like the Nike swoosh, that is a symbol for all athletics, totally and completely removed from anything about the reality of playing basketball.
Yep.
Okay. So level after level after level, moving away from the reality into a symbol that represents some aspect of that reality, to the point where the symbol has lost all the aspects of that foundational reality. And so he says that's how our world is generally constructed. So we are interacting with a simulation of reality through all of these symbols and cues and urges and the rest of it.
Because we've become so removed from reality.
That's right. Yeah. So, but that's not the same thing as like a computer simulation, Matrix style.
And,
right.
And Neo's reading that. He's reading that book in.
Well, the book is actually, there's a carved out, the pages are carved out in the middle and the USB is in there.
Oh, that's right.
He's using it to hide things, but yeah, that's the book in there. Yeah. So that's the real crux of it. But if we are in a Matrix style reality, then it's not about, I don't think, us having access to some next generation style tech. It could be that the Matrix style reality is all there is, and there's not something outside it that we would have any access to at all. Like could we just be a video game in God's mind?
Well, we were actually talking about simulation theory last night on the Liberty Den. So it's kind of funny this gets brought up. But then I don't even know how to grasp that concept, because that's such a deep conversation, and Brian actually wants to do like some sort of like debate or discussion solely focused on simulation theory. He got like super stoned last night and just went so deep into it. It was really funny, but it was really interesting as well.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what you're talking about, the simulation theory stuff and the Matrix. But then the counter to that is because I don't believe we are in a simulation, but let's talk about the other way, that other author you were talking about.
Yeah.
We're not in a Matrix, but we are in a Matrix type reality because of how far removed we are from reality, which brings me all the way back to Ted Kaczynski and why we got to go back to what he was talking about. But that's more my view of it, is the psyops and the technology have driven a wedge between us and reality. And it's not just that, it's the money, it's everything. It's the way people live now. They live for the dollar for the most part. Now it's getting to Bitcoin. I don't know if I want to go there either. But do you know what I'm saying? Like our reality and why we live, the purpose of our life has been so far removed from what reality was supposed to be. And that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally open to the possibility that we are just an iteration of God's creation, and that the point of the exercise is to have the people act in such a way that it honors the creator and have them do so spontaneously on their own, right? Like I used to say, I haven't talked about this in a while, but I said, I started saying a couple of years ago, or however many years ago, there's this old quote that's attributed to Einstein that says, God does not play dice. And so I kind of hijacked that and said, God does not play dice, but he might play Sim City. And, and I mean, how the hell do we know, man? It's entirely possible that we are engaged with a tiny shred of an existence that's greater than our capacity to understand it. And so we need to then be communicated to in ways that we might understand to lead us to greater understandings. And so if we have to be told that there's a special magical tool that does these things that a magical tool is not doing, then maybe that's what some people need. I mean, dude, if there's one dominant majority religion in the world, it is scientific materialism. And that has to, I don't think that's a good thing, but it definitely has to be reckoned with.
Well, what's interesting to me about this whole concept is if you would have asked me that, if we would have been discussing the same topic even 6 months ago or a year ago, I would have been like, there's no way we're living in a simulation. There's no way. But literally, guys, right now with what Kwast was talking about and all these other things that are coming out about AI and technology in the future, like we're building a future where we can create a simulation that thinks it's like this real thing. Like we could, in the near future, create the exact thing we're talking about that we could potentially think we are for whatever you call that, those ones and zeros. Like that alone kind of technically makes it possible that that's something we could be in. You know what I mean? The fact that we can create it, we could definitely be in it.
Yeah, Sean Ryan actually said something very similar in his thing with Tucker, talking about a technology that within that technology, you could be experiencing a reality that simply isn't there, that your brain believes is there. And so if that can happen in the future, why don't you think there's any chance that it has already happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. And this is way off path from where I thought we'd be going tonight, but I love this conversation.
We haven't gotten into any of our time.
I know. But as long as the chat doesn't mind, I'm totally good with it. Yeah, it's just fascinating stuff. We really do need to set up like this debate. Technology and where this is going is just so fascinating. And Trump is setting the groundwork for it. I mean, we could segue into the nuclear production stuff, unless there's more from the Kwast you want to.
Let me just look at the titles. I have these. No, I mean, no, I think that there was one little interesting clip that I can just summarize, but I thought that was key. He talked about this book, The Three Body Problem, and I'm not familiar with it any further than how he described it. So
have you seen the Netflix series?
No, I haven't. Is it?
I've actually watched it, and actually I don't even remember if it's Netflix, but I watched it somewhere, and it was a while ago when it first came out, and I thought it was really it was an interesting concept. I'm not going to do the spoiler alert thing where you ruin the whole movie like you did earlier, but
is it a movie?
Or it's a series, like 4 or 5, 6 episodes. I don't know. I think they're coming out with the season 2 as well.
Like a scripted series. It's not a documentary.
No, it's a scripted series. It's like a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'd watch it if you don't want to read the books, but I know you're a reader, so you should probably read the books too. But yeah, the 3 body problem stuff is interesting. I don't remember what your question or point was at the beginning.
Well, I was just saying in the context of that discussion, he was in his recommendation of that. He said, it's really important to understand that there are people, writers, some in Hollywood, he mentioned, that are thinking about these problems well in advance of the rest of society. And I would point to something like Black Mirror and say it's true of Black Mirror. I would also say it's true of Badlands, because we have been now consistently for the last almost 3 years, been talking about stuff that is well off into the future and way ahead of where the mainstream media and the mainstream narratives are right now, which is just another one of those things that I think is so frustrating and such a waste of time in constantly adhering to the mainstream narratives, the trending topics of the day, and then trying to connect all of that stuff to whatever else might be going on. That's not going to get anybody ahead. And we're not going to be well prepared even to guide our own lives, much less our society, unless we do get ahead.
And this is, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier. One of the things that frustrates me about so far this term, we haven't seen any tangible effects in my day-to-day life. One of the reasons I think not enough people are talking about this stuff is because the incentive structure that is still in place and hasn't changed from before, people don't, these discussions that we have, they're not incentivized on the same level that they are for other topics. Like you talk about the whatever gay stuff Tim Pool talks about, you get huge incentives for doing so. You talk about the stuff that makes you 2 years ahead of the game. You're like us, and we're in the shithole corner. I mean, I wouldn't say shithole because I love everybody in this community. I'm just saying, like, we don't get access to the incentives or the access or platform that anybody else gets access to, and it's because we're talking about these things. And so until we see those incentives change from the structure and what Trump is doing, implementing change, we can't move forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's significant acceleration that happens when someone like General Kwast goes on and has a conversation like that.
Yeah.
I think that that's levels of headiness and foresight well above what's common for the Joe Rogan experience. You know, like that's not
on Joe Rogan. Could you imagine?
Well, I mean, maybe he will be someday. That would
so.
be good because he gets a platform of that magnitude. But you know, the geniuses on that show are people like Eric Weinstein, who's, I mean, kind of a degenerate.
Yeah, I've never really followed any of his work. Didn't he like tell everybody to mask up?
He kind of went along with the whole thing. I mean, Eric Weinstein's done some considerable, interesting intellectual work, but it always eventually runs into a wall of A, his own ego, and B, his scientific materialism. So
interesting. Okay, well, was there another video?
Was there?
I don't think so.
Oh, there was still.
Oh, there's more on this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
If the communication is observed by a third party, it will rewrite history, and it will never have happened.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so you know that this is where your audience needs to do their own reading. Okay, because I am not an expert, but the experts have documented and proven that quantum communication has certain qualities to it that we don't understand. One of them is the one you just talked about, where the vibration of one is identical and simultaneous to the other, no matter how far apart they are. We don't know why or how, but we know it's true, and we know how to manipulate that to communicate. Okay? We know how to.
We don't understand the connection.
We don't understand the connection. Okay? But the other piece of it is that if you communicate and somebody observes it and you didn't want it to be observed, it disappears, meaning it never happened. And when you go back and you look, the evidence does not exist that it ever happened.
Say that again?
Yeah, I know. It's a mind bender. Okay. If quantum communication, and again, I want to be very careful that I'm not the expert. Okay. So you need to read the literature yourself
sorry, I guess that cut off there, but
that's fascinating.
Yeah. And if history can be removed, can it be installed? And the answer, of course, is yes.
He's talking about the Mandela effect, isn't he? Sorry.
Well, I mean, he's talking about a real Mandela effect. And again, that's exactly what was shown on the second episode of Black Mirror. So it's an interesting portrayal of exactly the problem that he's describing. But you can think of that much bigger, right? So if we can erase historical events, things that happened across a society, so that everybody would be like, well, I guess it must have never happened. Can false histories be installed? And like the answer is obviously yes, especially when we get false stories fed to us all day and we still think, well, they got to be telling us the truth about some of it. No, they don't. Well, like where in the rule book does it say that they must be telling us the truth about some of it? All of it is corporate media to serve the most powerful, most evil people who have ever existed on this planet. And we're just like, well, they got to be telling us the truth sometimes. Really? Yeah, they tell you the truth insofar as what it takes for you to believe it and then do what they want you to do. That's how much truth we get told.
Yeah, and most of the time a lot of people just spend their time cheerleading it on. But it's a fascinating thought. I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, because he was very explicit in his terms of, we know that we can have two atoms so far apart and have them communicate with each other, and then we know that if they recognize that or whatever, if it's seen, they disappear or whatever, like they change it, and it's like it never existed. He was very explicit about that.
Yeah,
and I want to know how he knows that. I want to see that.
Yeah,
like where's that written down?
And even beyond the specificity of that, he made it sound like, and maybe you didn't pick this up, and maybe I am wrong in picking it up, but it sounds like he was talking about a particular viewer. Like, if you didn't want this person or this group of people to see that message and one of them ends up observing it, it disappears.
Can you pull it up and play just that part again?
Yeah. It's so crazy. I mean, and to be clear with the audience, we're guessing.
Yeah. We're just hanging out, chatting.
Yeah. I think it's probably like this
quantum communication has certain qualities to it that we don't understand. One of them is the one you just talked about, where the vibration of one is identical and simultaneous to the other, no matter how far apart they are. We don't know why or how, but we know it's true, and we know how to manipulate that to communicate. Okay? We know how to.
We don't understand the connection.
We don't understand the connection. Okay? But the other piece of it is that if you communicate and somebody observes it and you didn't want it to be observed, it disappears, meaning it never happened. And when you go back and you look, the evidence does not exist that it ever happened.
Say that again?
Yeah, I know. It's a mind bender. Okay. If quantum communication, and again, I want to be very careful that I'm not the expert. Okay. So you need to read the literature yourself, and
I'm going to pull this up. I got to hear the rest of what he says.
What, that clip right there?
Yeah, I have YouTube up with this, so I'm just going to pull a transcript and.
Yeah. Here, let's just get one of the words at the end of the clip.
Not exist that it ever happened.
Okay.
No results found.
I can find roughly where that clip is, I believe. Or maybe I can't.
Why is that?
So, okay, I guess we're in a hold for processing.
Yeah, hold for processing, everybody. I think I found it.
Did you?
I found the rough area. Quantum. I just need to find communication. Okay, here. I think it's this. Okay, no, we're at the beginning of it. I just got to get a couple more. Is my screen up? Okay, here we go. This is it.
Quantum communication has certain qualities to it that we don't understand. One of them is the one you just talked about, where the vibration of one is identical and simultaneous to the other, no matter how far apart they are. We don't know why or how, but we know it's true, and we know how to manipulate that to communicate. Okay? We know how to.
We don't understand the connection.
We don't understand the connection. Okay. But the other piece of it is that if you communicate and somebody observes it and you didn't want it to be observed, it disappears, meaning it never happened. And when you go back and you look, the evidence does not exist that it ever happened.
Say that again?
Yeah, I know. It's a mind bender. Okay. If quantum communication, and again, I want to be very careful that I'm not the expert. Okay. So you need to read the literature yourself and the peer reviewed documents on some of the experiments that have taken place with quantum communication, but it literally can rewrite history. If it does not want to be seen, if it does.
Well, right there, that he just said what you were saying. It can rewrite history.
Not want it to be discovered. It is not discoverable.
If what doesn't want to discover, though?
The quantum actor, I guess, would be a suitable way of saying it. Like, whether it's the machine doing it or whether it's a human manipulating a machine, whoever does not want to be recorded as having done the thing.
Well, that's what's so interesting. Like, maybe we should just play the rest of the video and then we can speculate on it.
It can rewrite history. If it does not want to be seen, if it does not want it to be discovered, it is not discoverable. And so I say it rewrites history. I don't know how it does that, and I don't think anybody does. But we have observed it. That if it's observed, it disappears, and it's like it never happened. So again, I don't know, but God has created a universe.
So how do they know it existed in the first place?
Yeah, I guess that's
such a mind bender.
Well, also think about all the data that we talked about before that could be exploited to cause societal chaos and breakdown, which I don't think that it ultimately would, for the record. I think it would probably be the greatest come to Jesus moment that the world has ever known, because the necessity of forgiveness amongst people would be like paramount,
Yeah.
So that part I think is profound, but with all of that data that could be exploited, if it can just be blipped out of existence in some highly specific way.
I mean, I'm just thinking of, well, one, again, going the two sides. If the bad guys have that, think of the crimes you can commit without ever being caught, because all the evidence just disappears if the wrong people see it, right? Like, however that works. If it's like two people communicating through whatever the system is, and as soon as anybody else accesses whatever the communication is, it's gone, and it's like it never happened. But then on the flip side of that, like the good guys, we used to talk all the time about devolution. Like, there has to be some way these people are communicating. Is it on the blockchain? Is it something else? What if it's something like this? Because again, when stuff like this gets discussed about publicly on regime approved podcasts that go on YouTube to 5 million subscribers, that's a different level of disclosure than us just talking about it on our show. And that means this technology that they're discussing, they've already had behind the scenes for a long ass time, and we don't know how long. So what if they're using this stuff for the devo op? They have to be.
Well, one would think that if they have access to the best possible resources and tools, then they would definitely employ them. I would also suggest that technology like this could have been around for much longer than we can possibly imagine, and maybe millennia, and maybe repeating over the course of millennia.
I mean, they built the pyramids, bro.
I honestly believe that something like that could be the case.
Totally.
But when you think about these ancient civilizations that may or may not have existed, like some of the Tartaria stuff, the lost city of Atlantis, the rest of it. Like, I can imagine a moment in our not so distant future where the regime believes with some good reason that they have created all of this technology for us and all these machines that we are all dependent on, and that they have finally lost power and lost control. What can they do at that point to maintain it? Well, if you wreck everybody's technology but your own, and you are cloistered off in, I don't know, Antarctica or something, then you could probably protect yourself for a long time, gradually return the technology only to the extent you believe it's going to increase your control on those populations. And the whole system would kind of slowly restart up again after everyone else had been bounced back to the Stone Age.
Yeah. I want to transition out of this just so we can get to at least the Trump nuclear discussion.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably be able to wrap up the show after this. But this is a good segue, because speaking of all this technology and everything that exists out there, or that is coming, we're going to need energy sources for it. One of the things Kwast talked about was beaming energy from space. He talked about that on my show back on February of 2023. So I would watch that interview before the Sean Ryan interview. But anyway, nuclear is a big thing. We've been talking about this. Bernie Bright's been talking about it. And I got a video. Oh, shoot. Did I lose that one? I'm going to play the video of Trump discussing the energy stuff. Or whoever that guy is that reads him his executive orders before he signs them.
Will Schmidt, I want to say is his name.
Something like that. I know CanCon asked me, and I texted
Did you, by the way, did you watch that Michael Kratzios speech from this week or no?
No.
I got to look that up. Well, I saw that there was a transcript of that published the other day, maybe even on whitehouse.gov. But
yeah, he's the guy who talked about time travel before, right?
Well, he's the Office of Science and Technology Policy.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Did he talk about time travel in that?
Maybe it wasn't time travel. What was the one before that everybody's like quoting about? It was manipulating like time and space or something.
Yeah,
everybody freaked out about it.
Yeah.
But he was the guy who said that. Okay, but here's the video I want to play.
Sir, this next executive order is intended to reform the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. You heard a few of the people here speak about the complex regulatory processes that have really held the nuclear industry back. Before 1978, there were 133 reactors built in the United States. Since 1978, only 2 new commercial reactors have come online. That's because of overregulation. And the goal of this executive order is bringing that regulatory process into line with the actual needs of the industry and public safety, with an end goal of quadrupling the amount of nuclear power production in the next 2.5 decades.
It's fantastic. It's exciting, right? There you go.
This next executive order relates to nuclear reactor testing, sir. The degree of overregulation and governmental inaction in this space in particular has had the effect of throttling development of new, highly modernized nuclear reactors that could really revolutionize the field of nuclear power generation. So this executive order, it orders a revised regulatory process to speed this whole process while preserving, obviously, core safety concerns. It also creates a new pilot program with an expectation that we will have 3 new experimental reactors online by July 4th next year.
It's amazing. That's
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order on reinvigorating the nuclear industrial base. There are a number of core issues here, including the issue with fuel feedstock that one of the speakers mentioned before. This executive order, among other actions, includes an invocation of the Defense Production Act in order to spur a closer collaboration with private industry to ensure that we have the fuel supplies we need for a modernized nuclear energy sector. In addition to that, it includes crucial provisions relating to the development of a nuclear energy sector workforce and a number of other key building blocks to the overall nuclear industry that we're trying to spur here.
Thank you.
We have one more for you here, sir. This doesn't directly relate to nuclear energy, but it's on a similar subject. This executive order is entitled Restoring Gold Standard Science. One of the issues that we've had in recent decades.
Okay.
And that last one, Restoring the Gold Standard Science, it might be worth listening to that for
There's
like
only
30 more seconds.
There's only 3 seconds left in the clip.
Oh, there are? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes along and describes the effort to do that, but that was kind of the heart of Kratsios' speech. I just was going through the transcript of that that they did put on the White House on May 19th. So, but I can't find the video of the speech, unfortunately. Anyhow, Defense Production Act.
Yeah, man, this is fascinating to me because if you look at what it actually says here in the executive order itself, it mentions the Defense Production Act and it gives the U.S. Code, right? Title 50, which if you look at Title 50 and what that is, hold for processing, it is war and national defense. It's a wartime power. It was originally a wartime powers. And one of the key points of the devolution theory is at some point, I believe there was an act of war that Trump interpreted as an act of war. And that gave him essentially all the authority he needed to implement something like devolution. He's told us he's a wartime president multiple times. Mike Johnson has called himself a wartime speaker. He's got a great package, everybody. And the Defense Production Act is traditionally the wartime power. So where's the official declaration of war that would allow him to use something like this? Now, the flip side of that argument is over the years, it's kind of been broadened to be used in times of, or on behalf of national security. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things have, but how is that not just a different way to describe being in an act of war? You know, but last time we saw this, I believe, was during COVID when Trump had a bunch of the car manufacturers manufacture respirators.
Yeah.
The Defense Production Act.
Yeah. They, and he put it into place, into motion just a couple of days before that, the date that the arrow on his chart that saved his life was pointing at. You know, we talked about that a few months back.
Yeah.
In the lead up to Liberation Day. Yeah, I think it was March 27th, 2020, when he put the Defense Production Act in place. Do you remember?
March 18th, yeah.
Do you remember an exchange with General Kwast that I had at a guard? I don't know how many guards ago it was, but gosh, I just started thinking about when the GART was, and I completely lost what I had. Oh, the Defense Production Act. Sorry, man. I had asked him, under that kind of framework, would it be possible to, for instance, consign a media company or a social media company into the service of the war effort, which is essentially what the Defense Production Act is. It allows the government to kind of take over these companies and direct their activity toward the good of the nation and the national security. So could you do that for a media company? Could you do it for a social media company? Like, what sorts of companies could you do it for? And he said, I think that he just rerouted slightly to some other provision that would allow him to do that, but while generally saying that the framework makes sense. And so when we look at something like Twitter, for instance, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what you've speculated for a while, that somehow Elon Musk is just the face of a military operation that was able to take over the most powerful information tool in the world, information warfare tool.
Donald Trump might be the face of a military information operation.
Totally could be. And if we're living in a simulation, all you need is the computer code to whatever take over Twitter. But yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting thought. And what is interesting too, I'm looking at the Defense Production Act on Wikipedia. And I know it's Wikipedia, but if you look at the 21st century things and all the stuff it was used for, and I think this is chronologically, it went 2011, 2011, Barack Obama used it for telecommunication stuff, cyber espionage. And then Trump used it for materials, like kind of like he's doing right now. He needs all the critical materials that China makes everything of. Then it was COVID, and it just seems like all of a sudden it's used all the time. Biden used it for wildfire stuff, Virginia-class attack submarines, critical mineral supplies, baby formula shortage, green energy, hypersonic industrial base.
That's kind of funny, man. So over the course of the fake president's term, he kept signing up corporations to the employ of our defense effort.
Yeah.
But not the government.
Yeah, the
specifically, specifically the military. He was Joe Biden was responsible for taking supposedly private corporations and companies and handing them over to the military.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That's
and
wild.
then you get into the AutoPen story too. That's another level of interesting to that.
I think that all of this shit is explanatory stuff, because the story as we see and discern and communicate it is like not ready for public consumption or something.
And what's interesting here too is like these ones, hypersonic industrial base. Like, isn't this a lot of the stuff that Elon Musk is doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have circuit board stuff. That's stuff that is needed for what Trump is doing now. Artificial intelligence. Trump had that executive order on this. The pharmaceutical supply chain. That was Trump's most important Truth Social post ever. And they were all Defense Production Act stuff that Biden signed over.
Yeah, and his stuff that he did in his first term too.
Yeah.
Like,
what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
That's mind blowing a little bit.
So that's interesting. I didn't realize that Biden had employed it so many times. This is
our boy Blue.
One of those new things. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. We should almost come back and talk about that a little bit more. Like, or we can talk about it now. I mean, this fits into the theory so well of whatever was going on during the Biden term was a controlled something. Like it's the baby in the playpen thing. And this could be one of those circumstantial evidence things, considering how Trump is running his administration. I wonder what the rest of these said here. I'm going to go back to the green energy one. It has to do with the Russia-Ukraine war, Inflation Reduction Act.
Due to energy costs because of the war.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So where's the accelerate the growth of
it.
What was that?
Our boy Blue just crushing it. Heat pumps, water heaters, and other heat pumps and components.
Weird.
Love it.
The baby formula shortage one is crazy too. Yeah, anyway. I love that. Did you want to get into anything else? It's already it's only 11:15.
What else did we think about talking about? Was there anything else that we
this is more conceptual, but we had the Epstein files discussed by Dan Bongino and Kash Patel.
Oh yeah,
like a couple weeks ago, and they come out and you know what? I might as well just play the clip. Or was it a post? Bongino Epstein. Because I'm pretty sure I didn't watch the full interview. I know I saw a post about it. Did I spell Epstein wrong? Is it I-N?
Epstein. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. This is a good clip.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Listen.
So there were some pretty prominent people like Flynn who came out and disagreed with that assessment. And it's not just him, there's a lot of them. And so what I think is interesting is, you know, our community looks at some of these figures like a Dan Bongino and especially a Kash Patel, right? I mean, it's who I named myself after. He's like one of those figures that we look to, like this guy's in on it. He knows the inner workings of whatever plan is going on behind the scenes. And he's sitting here next to Dan Bongino and they're saying that, yeah, he killed himself. And you have somebody like Flynn, who a lot of people look at in the same light. He's like, no, I disagree with that. And I feel like this is one of those cheerleading conundrums that is going to like force people to use their discernment. Like, okay, where do I fit? My thought process on this thing is I do like Dan Bongino. I wouldn't say I trust him, but like, if you want me to trust you and you've said you've seen that evidence, show me it. Why can't I see that same evidence that you've seen to come to that determination? Like the trust would verify. I'll trust you, but let me verify it too.
And why also do we have to assume that the file is a full and complete picture of what actually happened? There's no reason to believe that.
Yeah, that's true too. But it is weird. And the fighting, like the conflicting messaging, I think from some of the key figures, I think is an interesting thing because I think it's a good thing because people need to start using their brains a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that probably puts some pressure on people to get information out more quickly. It keeps the public engaged, hopefully. But, you know, I'm not the one plotting out the strategies here.
Yeah.
I don't know that my strategies would be the same, but who knows, man? I mean, all of it's such a mystery to me. And, there's also an element where, and I think that we talked about this when I was sitting in for Zach a couple weeks ago on Baseless Conspiracies. But when there are so many weird elements to a story and so many weird things that have happened in the relaying of that story, the Epstein files debacle with the Con Inc. influencers,
the binder
outside the White House.
Binder brigade.
Yeah. That was terrible. This thing is, what do you make of it? And there's been an Epstein linked instance of that to whatever degree every couple of weeks for the last few months. At some point, you got to at least consider that maybe we're standing on a rug about some of this.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of this we're standing on a rug on.
Yeah.
I just saw a Rumble rant come through from Babofio, or I know I'm saying that wrong, but Cash and Bongino holding back, can't release evidence needed for convictions. Well, if that's the case, why did he lie? Like, if that's the case, just say that's an ongoing investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's many things he could have said, but if that's the case right there, then he just lied to us. And then we've had this discussion all the time. Like,
sure,
how can you call the good guys if they're lying to us? They're just lying to us for different reasons than the bad guys are,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know.
And that was a friendly interview too. I think that was
Yeah.
Maria Bartiromo, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know why we are so committed to accepting as an excuse for government secrecy that it's going to affect some investigation, as though they have this incredible reputation of putting away all the bad guys cleanly and efficiently, following the rules to a T, to such a point where risking the following of those rules and those standards even one time might compromise the whole thing. I don't buy that at all. It sounds like it's just a very plausible, sellable excuse for why the people are being kept out of the loop.
Okay, I got to show you something here. Speaking of Flynn, this just got sent to me, and so this is off topic. And I already don't love it just because he is retweeting an Alex Jones video. But Flynn, disclosure, let me read this to you. It is being reported that in Moscow, the Russian government is conducting a continuity of government operation with key government officials being moved to secure locations outside Moscow. This is a sign of escalation. Other indicators the USIC should be looking for are movement of any strategic rocket or bomber forces. Additionally, logistic elements associated with these type of forces, as well as some railhead locations, provide additional signatures that should be examined. Pray this is only a drill or exercise.
Well, can we port that back to the devolution period and see if there is anything notable along those lines, or if there was anything notable along those lines that was happening in terms of the movements, strategic rocket and bomber forces, et cetera?
You're saying, think about this in terms of Trump?
Well, that's what General Flynn just laid out as the justification for, that's the real world proof of their continuity of government plan being put into place. So yeah, I would wonder if there's something similar in.
I know there is. I'm pretty sure I read through testimony from the J6 committee about what was going on and other threats they were dealing with in the world and how they were moving stuff around.
I remember they had something going on with Somalia at the time, and that seemed to be a key factor that was being asked about repeatedly in the interview with Kash Patel. And then I think wasn't Colonel McGregor working on a bunch of stuff along those lines in that era?
Yeah, McGregor was all over the place. I'm just trying to think. There's something with Iran too. I mean, we know for a fact already, and this came from the prosecutions of Trump, that there was some sort of defense plan against Iran that was put into place, and it was to be carried out by like underneath the Biden administration, and Biden had no idea about it. Not that he had any idea about anything.
Right. Yeah, I think we talked about that on
Trump, psyop, Iran. Let me see if I can find that story.
That's definitely very interesting, though. I also am not sure that I would buy the idea that Russia's in some continuity of government. They There were also reports today that North Korea and Iran, their drones were attacking Kyiv. And that seems ridiculous. Iran is going to go attack Ukraine while they're negotiating a nuclear deal. That's retarded. North Korea, we've been told that they've aligned themselves with Russia. And so now North Korea is doing that. Really? Because Russia needs the help? Ukraine has gained no ground ever at any point throughout the entire thing. And Russia needs help from North Korea. And they're going to just throw that monkey wrench in the gears while they're trying to negotiate peace in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine and its European backers, with Donald Trump in the middle as peacemaker. Kim Jong-un and the country Trump is negotiating with on nuclear energy. Those two are going to attack Ukraine? No.
No, definitely not. And I don't think there's any sort of county government stuff going on right now either. But it's just this is just an interesting post from Flynn, man. Like,
totally.
This is fascinating. I cannot find that story. I feel like I'm having one of those moments where history was erased. I know for a fact I'm talking about. God damn it. Do you know what I'm talking about? That when Trump left office, there's a plan left for special operations that was to be carried out under the Biden administration without anybody else knowing. And I can't find it anywhere.
Could have just been blipped off the internet, buddy.
Oh, that. I'm gonna spend the rest of my night looking for this. Hold for processing, guys. Oh, damn it. I guess I'll find it later.
What are you searching on?
Telegram right now, where I keep most of my stuff.
I'm looking on ChatGPT. Sanctions wall. Yeah.
I'll find it later. We can talk about it later. I know it exists. It's gonna drive me nuts if I don't find it. Wait. Bernie Bridge just sent something. I wonder if this is. No. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So that was crazy. Thanks for sending that over, Alpha. If you're watching, he's the one who texted me that Flynn post. I did not see that. Very interesting. Should we do the Higgins stuff real quick, or the NSC Rubio? That stuff's interesting too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're in that domain right now.
Yeah. So this story came out right here. Share the screen. Okay. So scoop: Trump Rubio take aim at National Security Council's deep state. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have orchestrated a vast restructuring of the NSC, reducing its size and transferring many of its powers to the state and defense departments. I think it came out a day or so after this that they cut like 100 positions at the NSC. And the reason I think this is so interesting, it's really for two reasons. First of all, going all the way back to my part 13, and I guess so this isn't chronological order in terms of when it happened, but when it happened for me and when I wrote about it. In part 13, I talk about Robert O'Brien. And when O'Brien was brought in, his job was essentially to clear out the deep state. In an exclusive interview with NPR, Robert O'Brien said he expects to have trimmed about a third of the ranks at the NSC by the end of next month. I really think by the time we finish up by the end of the month and next month, we'll probably have about 60 to 70 staffers who've gone back to their home agency. So this guy, very important role, big to devolution. He was trimming people at the NSC. Then you go back even further to the hit list squad. And this is where it really all began. And that is Higgins, Ezra Cohen-Watnick, Steve Bannon, and Derek Harvey. The Higgins memo, Ezra Cohen-Watnick's been hitting on that. We should show that after this. Derek Harvey just followed me on Twitter. Pretty pumped about that. But yeah, these were the original guys that were working under Trump at the NSC to kind of expose and weed out the deep state. They all get fired shortly after the Q drop. I mean, go read my part 23 if you haven't yet. It lays it all out. But it's all very interesting to me because it's coming full circle now that they're doing the same thing. It's like they picked up right where they left off.
Yeah, I think it's great that it's coming back around too.
Yeah. And then just a little further proof on this is the Ezra Cohen Watnick stuff. I don't remember where I put it. Oh, by the way, your last article on Substack was really good.
Oh, thanks, man.
You should throw that in the chat.
All right, I'll do that.
Where's my Ezra post? Oh, right here. Ezra Cohen with emerging details that the terrorists in Washington, D.C. I don't know if we want to get into that psyop, but I'm just reading the post. Was a member of the Marxist Islamist axis. I can't help but think just how right Rich was, which is obviously Richard Higgins. If you go read his memo, it's all about Marxist Islamists.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he posted the actual memo here, retweeted it. A lot of folks in DC grossly sneered at this memo when it was leaked by the permanent bureaucracy. You don't have to agree with all of the assertions in the memo, but it is worth full consideration, much less of an alternative viewpoint than at the time Rich authored it. We've been talking about this memo for 3 years, 3.5 years now. So there we go.
Yeah. As for the thing in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday evening, I talked about this at some length yesterday. I just thought it was very, very strange. Now, like the caveat is if 2 people got murdered, that's very sad. Okay. It doesn't matter what the people's backgrounds were. Doesn't matter what they were doing. That part is very sad. That is a real tragedy, right? Putting that aside and focusing on the other elements, because we exist in a real world where we can't just allow our emotions to say, well, that story is tragic. Therefore, we cannot think about the context that it exists inside of and how that story is being used. We have to think about those things. Yeah. So over the weekend, or even toward the end of last week, and we still hear it every couple of days, we hear a push for Israel to strike Iran. And then over the weekend, Netanyahu announced he was going to go in with the IDF and they were going to take over Gaza completely, full control in Gaza. And they said that that was to prevent Hamas from disrupting the United States supply of aid to the Palestinians. So they were going to go destroy Hamas so that they could help the Palestinians. That was the cover story, even though aid had been frozen for weeks before that. Yep. So JD Vance then skips the Israel part of that trip, probably because Trump didn't want a picture of JD and Netanyahu going like this while Israel is warmongering, And so the next day after that, there are reports about how Trump just wants Netanyahu to end everything in Gaza, to wrap it up, I think is how they described it. And then the day after that, we get in the afternoon, Charlie Kirk doing that debate with the tweaker who looks like Beaker from Muppets. He's always debating college kids, just like Ben Shapiro was 10 years ago. Same agenda, same playbook, the neocon playbook. And that debate was militant, pro-Israel, let's go to war Zionism versus free Palestine, you support terrorists. And so you had both sides of the central narrative represented by Charlie Kirk and the central counter narrative represented by the college children that he debates unsuccessfully. And that was just the battle between the controlled opposition. And then a few hours later, we have a killing by a free Palestine activist And so in response, we know that that side's wrong. The Free Palestine side is wrong. So the response then is the militant Zionism. And so we've had that narrative very cleanly sold to us over the past week. And to view that event outside that context, to me, is absolutely crazy, because we can see how it was immediately used and it didn't work. And Twitter's been shut down 2 times in the meantime. And I think that's worth remembering. And then there's one last thing, and that's that the supposed shooter, who's probably a patsy like all the rest of these people, or controlled into doing the thing, which is this kind of the same thing. That guy's dad attended the joint speech before the session of Congress as the guest of a Chicago Democrat.
Yeah. I mean, you just explained perfectly how they can build a narrative and use a false flag to like implement the result of what they want from the narrative they built.
Yep.
It's such a great example. And I didn't even think of the Twitter part of that.
Yeah. And Charlie Kirk's point in that debate, to the extent he had any points and he didn't, he just recited the totality of the official story in a yelling way to make everyone very clear that he felt so passionately about this.
Yeah. If you kill, what did he say? You kill 2,300 Israelis on October 7th, we are going to wipe you off the face of the earth, no matter what it takes. Something like that.
Yeah.
And then he got into a bunch of gotcha questions to the guy.
Yep.
It was pretty silly, the whole thing. But it's not just Charlie Kirk either. We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
It's all these conning people that are formulated around that narrative of, we need to destroy Hamas. Like, we need to support Israel, full stop. And I think it's an exposure for all of them. Like, especially if there is more nefarious things going on, which we very much so believe there is. I guess not speaking for everybody, but I think that's kind of the consensus here with the Israeli government, Netanyahu, whatever. Once that's exposed, that's another untenable position that we talk about. The conning people supporting that and supporting what they were trying to do, that's going to become untenable if we haven't already reached that point already.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I look at this stuff and it only seems like a sales pitch to sell never-ending war. And that's what we've been communicated to our entire lives with all of these people in distant lands by the same neocons. Neoconservatism is an ideological outgrowth of Trotskyism. Trotsky believed in revolution everywhere all the time. Neoconservatives believe in revolution everywhere all the time, using military to install, quote unquote, our democracy around the world.
Yeah. I got to give a big shout out to John Drake, as he found the article I was looking for.
Oh, wow.
Former U.S. president approved covert Pentagon plan to begin shadow war with Iran. During the final month of his term as president, Donald Trump signed off on key parts of a secret Pentagon campaign to conduct sabotage, propaganda, as well as psychological and information operations in Iran. The secret campaign was intended to undermine the Iranian people's faith in their government, as well as shake the regime's sense of competence and stability, which is exactly what the establishment has done here in the United States repeatedly forever, to keep themselves in power. Anyway, according to a former senior U.S. official who spoke with Yahoo, however, before signing off, Trump reportedly acknowledged that it would have to be carried out by the incoming Biden administration. That is awesome. Thank you, John Drake. Share an email to send info. Anyway, man, how do you feel about going through rants and stuff?
Let's do it.
Unless you got anything else. Did we miss anything?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't think so.
We did get one super chat tonight over on YouTube from Only in Your Mind. Badlands is the place to be. All shows are great. See you in Florida in June. Thank you. And yeah, guys, if you're watching on Rumble, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you give us a follow. You should also just quickly pop over to YouTube and watch like one commercial. Just sit for one commercial and then you can duck out. That'd be real cool. But yeah, in Florida, we having a meetup June 28th, 5 to 8 p.m., Lakeland, Florida. You got to RSVP at vidamcc@protonmail.com. vidamcc@protonmail.com. All right. I should probably check the boost too, huh? Hold for processing, guys. Anything you want to say?
Nah, I think also that the Harvard thing is really interesting. I had a friend who I think I've introduced you to before online, who she goes on a bunch of research paths that a lot of other people I don't think would go down. And she started checking into Harvard and its relationship with globalism and international students because of that Trump executive order that got blocked the other day.
Yep.
And found that Harvard still operates under the Charter of 1650, which is basically a corporate charter under the British Crown.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You should send me that.
Yeah, I will. Let me pull it up.
And while you're doing that, we do have one Rumble Studio ad I also want to read real quick. And that is from 1775 Coffee. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, a smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Thank you to Rumble and Rumble Studio and 1775 Coffee for that one. I do have a couple boosts. What were we just talking about?
The Harvard 1650 charter.
Oh, yeah. Do you send me that?
I have it on ChatGPT.
Okay.
Here are, well, I'll just pop it up
Yeah.
so we can go through some of this. It's pretty insane. I just scanned through this while you were reading that. So, charter granted by the Massachusetts Bay Colony, not directly by the British Crown, a corporation known as the President and Fellows of Harvard College. It wasn't a direct royal charter. Still, Harvard's corporate identity was originally nested within the English legal framework, meaning its origins tie back to colonial crown authority. Despite America's independence, Harvard continues to operate under the same 1650 charter, amended slightly over time, especially during the 18th and 19th centuries. The Harvard Corporation established in that charter is still the oldest corporation in the Western Hemisphere. The structure gives Harvard an unusual legal status with enormous institutional autonomy rooted in a colonial legal foundation. Critics sometimes point to this as a symbol of elite continuity from Crown-era privilege into modern American institutional power. So it sounds like Disneyland for communist dorks.
So would that even fall under the authority of the Constitution based on that shit?
Who knows? I mean, I definitely don't know. I have not deep dived on any of this stuff. But then also we've had, remember when Barack Obama was president from Harvard?
I try not to remember that.
Maybe not even American.
Yeah. And married to a dude.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Yeah. So a totally different relationship with the international community, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So again, of course, the president's plenary authority allows him to rescind visas. He doesn't need to check with Harvard.
I mean, honestly, with all that stuff you just said and all the bullshit that Harvard has pulled and created and put into this world and the brainwashing, kind of surprised Trump hasn't been meaner to them. You know, I feel like just revoking visas is maybe not enough.
Yeah. I mean, I guess with some of these things, they're being made an example of, right? There's clearly racial biases at work in their admissions. We heard that for years about how even Asians were being preferenced, or maybe were being kept out or something. I can't remember the exact details.
Something with the Asians.
Yeah, that was all in there. Now the anti-Semitism thing is part of it. That's the justification for why these students shouldn't be allowed at the school. And then Harvard went against that, and that hence trumps, the rescission of those visas. It's going to be interesting, man. I don't know how that's going to shake out, but we have all these colleges all over the place depending on foreign students because they're the ones who are actually paying full tuition. And that's how the global regime continues to operate. It sends all their commies, all the kids of their best commies to all of these other countries so that those kids can infiltrate into the societies and be Marxist activists on campus.
Yeah, and I played this on my daily show this week, but do you remember when Trump was coming out with those campaign videos, Agenda 47?
Yep.
He had the one about the American Academy. He had this video where, do you remember this one?
I am looking forward to hearing it because I will remember it when I hear it.
Okay, well, I'm going to play this because he mentioned this in a video. It's a really interesting concept. It would completely destroy the Harvards of the world. And we haven't heard a peep about it since this video. So I'm going to play it quick. I mean, it's not quick. It's like a 2.5, 3 minute video, but.
In recent weeks, Americans have been horrified to see students and faculty at Harvard and other once respected universities expressing support for the savages and jihadists who attacked Israel. We spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many, many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. It's time to offer something dramatically different. Under the plan I'm announcing today, we will take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments. And we will then use that money to endow a new institution called the American Academy. Its mission will be to make a truly world-class education available to every American, free of charge, and do it without adding a single dime to the federal debt. This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, this will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. None of that's going to be allowed. Most importantly, the American Academy will compete directly with the existing and very costly four-year university system by granting students degree credentials that the U.S. government and all federal contractors will henceforth recognize. The Academy will award the full and complete equivalent of a bachelor's degree. In addition, to help the 40 million Americans who have some college education but no degree, the American Academy will grant credit for past coursework at legacy institutions and give you the chance to complete your education at the American Academy for free and much more quickly than is now possible or available. This will be a revolution in higher education and will provide life-changing opportunities for tens of millions of our citizens. Enjoy it, learn from it, and thank you.
I didn't realize how nicely that would tie this whole episode in a bow.
Right. Gosh, that sounds a lot like Michael Saylor's Academy.
That, but it also talks about everything that's kind of happening right now. Him suing the administrations, him taxing the administration or the schools, and then the computing stuff he mentioned. It was so perfect to what we were talking about before, and the disclosures and the information and education. I mean, that was kind of perfect.
So interesting, awesome. Man. I can't wait to see how that turns out. And again, the endowment thing, Scott Bessent actually was totally explicit about calling it a hedge fund. Let me see if I can find that picture, that clip. It's so crazy.
Does Ash ever not? Is she ever not debating? I feel like she's debating in our chat right now with Burning Red again.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry to disrupt whatever. I didn't even hear what you just said, but
no, I got to see that too. Yeah, here it is. I found it. Yes.
I don't remember what you're looking for, but
Scott Besant talking about Harvard. Listen to what he says.
Oh, yeah.
Here we are.
On social media that they were in the process of removing the tax exempt status from Harvard. There's been a lot of issues with Harvard, but that's one that comes within your bailiwick. Where is that process right now?
The president is moving forward with that, and we're also looking at taxes on endowments. And I think the important thing here, and it goes a little bit back to this Main Street versus the elites, that Harvard, to have a tax-exempt status, there are rules you have to follow. And if you're not following the rules, no one's above the law. So we will see if they're following the rules. It looks like there's a substantial number where perhaps they weren't. And, again, too, Harvard is a gigantic hedge fund. They run a leveraged investment model. So we'll see where all that goes.
The educational aspects are A, indoctrination, and B, like a front business.
yeah. No, that's interesting. I was just looking something up and I forgot it. Damn it. Because I got distracted by the AI video thing, which we never came back to. I typed in that prompt that you sent. We'll see if it comes up with anything.
Oh, dude, that would be so funny.
But they're only like short clips. I don't think it'll do the full.
Oh, man. It would be
But
the
we'll
greatest if we could have that as our
Outro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we just play the original because that's always a good one.
Yeah.
We do have a couple boosts though. We got this from Butters. $34. Thank you very much, John. There is never a crowd on the leading edge, as in the bell curve. Badlands being usually way ahead of the curve. A blessing and a curse. Toward the tip of the spear, you are 1700%. Trump is aware of you. In my opinion, y'all are aspirations and inspirations. Thank you so much.
Very kind.
I think that might be the most recent. Okay. And then we got some rants. Actually, I should probably check YouTube, see if we got anything else over there. Nope. All right. Isaiah 53. Grilling started. Happy Memorial Day, Patriots. Yes, happy Memorial Day to you guys as well. K. Kelly, you were so right, John. Sean Ryan looked like an amateur interviewing General Kwast. If WoW was a drinking game, I would have run out of gin. Yeah, he's kind of sounded like Owen Wilson for most of the interview. That's who it is, right? Owen Wilson. Is he the guy that does the wow?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't butcher that. Isaiah 53 again. If 2020 doesn't get exposed, it's just another line item betrayal added to the mountain of betrayals we've already endured. Yep. Old School 69. Is there any credible resources or personal writings or episodes of your shows how Tucker Carlson should not be trusted? I got into a debate about him, but can't find anything beyond opinions. I mean, technically that's true, but I always go to the fact that you don't apply to the CIA, get turned down, and then just so happen to go on to be the most famous information newscaster, whatever he is, in the world. It doesn't happen. And his dad was CIA.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Old School, I think that I've talked about it at great length on my podcast. I can look to see if there's an episode that I can find, but yeah, I mean, and it's not even that it's not like we're making some conclusive case that he shouldn't be trusted. It's just that we should stop groveling before television characters. And when you can see them obviously telling you falsehoods or representing themselves as constant truth tellers while not telling the whole truth and saying, for instance, like Tucker does, that he doesn't go on the internet, he doesn't watch television news, he doesn't read the newspapers, but then he has all this inside information. Well, where's all the inside information coming from? Like somebody told me it was this way. Okay, was that person an intelligence agent? Like who's telling you all these things then? If you're largely disengaged. And he says, "Oh, it's just my smart guests and stuff." I don't know, man. Like at some point, you just have to be like, this guy's doing something, and I can assume that he's doing a good thing, but understanding how many times we've been hoodwinked in our lives, it makes more sense to assume that he's not doing a good thing, demand honesty and openness, and then if in the future you find out he's part of some secret plan, then you can say, "Hey, man, I apologize."
Chris, I got to
And
show you
think would
something.
understand.
Brand new, as of 1 minute ago, True Social post from Donald Trump.
Come on.
Why isn't Harvard saying that almost 31% of their students are from foreign lands, and yet those countries, some not at all friendly to the United States, pay nothing toward their students' education, nor do they ever intend to? Nobody told us that. We want to know who those foreign students are, a reasonable request since we give Harvard billions of dollars, but Harvard isn't exactly forthcoming. We want those names and countries. Harvard has $52 million. Use it and stop asking for the federal government to continue granting money to you.
He means 52 billion there. That's the size of their endowment.
They're well endowed, aren't they?
It's not Mike Johnson's package, but
well, nothing's that well endowed.
Yeah.
But quite the timing on that, man.
That is something.
But then also, this is super gay.
Well, that's the Charlie Kirk line of info op dissemination right there.
Yeah, man, crazy. Let's go back to the rants. Let's see. The Abe Theory 21. The physical world is mysterious, and we pretend it's not. Christ Paul, effing A, bro. Did he mean to do Christ Paul?
I don't know. That's
I think that nickname might stick, though.
Well, it's not. I don't think that should.
I'm not saying it should. I think it will. Post for hope. As humans, we outsource all we need to survive: water, food, and energy. Isaiah 53. Just wait until you find out there's already a social credit system being used in the USA, for sure. Micro Toolmaker for $100. Nice to see you, man. Rumble giving me fits today. Getting this through, though. Where we go one, we go all. Thanks, man. J Drake 83. First APL. Second Kwast said China is a copier, not an innovator. If they have quantum and whatever's going on with the moon, they weren't first. Then combine that with stealth mode. Makes you wonder.
Sure does.
Sure does. Thanks for the rant, man. Abe 3021. Mention God and people will start spewing their centralized church propaganda. Connection with our Heavenly Father is different from church. Church equals matrix programming. The church killed Jesus.
Wait, didn't John Drake call for an APL?
Oh, that's what he meant by that.
Yeah.
And yes, he did. So. I forgot I turned the loop on.
Man, I haven't done a Una Panuna free live stream in I don't know how long.
Well, why would you want to?
Exactly.
It's pretty fantastic. She had a busy week. She had another hearing with a bunch of like geriatrics from the JFK stuff. We're finally getting to the bottom of that. I tell you, there may have been multiple shooters. It's fascinating stuff.
There's a lot of fake governing that has to happen, and she's the one to do it.
Yeah. Between her and Nancy Mace breasts, it was just a great week. Great week for government.
I saw a fantastic meme. I don't think I sent this to you. Let me see if I can just find it really quick.
Pull it up, man.
Oh, you're going to love this.
Is it Nancy Mace meme?
Sort of. Here, I'm texting it to you.
Oh,
maybe that'll be.
Can you pull it up on the screen?
Well, I would then have to download it, change it. Hold on. I think I might have to change it to. Oh no, it already is a JPEG. Okay, this is good. Here we go.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, we got to get that on the screen.
Hold on. There we go. There we go.
So stupid.
Breaking Vivek Ramaswamy to make an endorsement of Representative Nancy Mace. He told official sources he was proud of her, stating, quote, showed Bob's and vagine, end quote.
Oh, it's just funny because it's like a little racist and has some Nancy May stuff in there. It's just great.
But it's also because, do you know about the phenomenon on Instagram and elsewhere where like the hot chicks, the Instagram models and whatnot get just inundated all day and night with comments exactly like that, like show Bob's from
I've heard that. Yeah.
From random accounts in India, like nonstop.
Yeah. It's hilarious. Oh man. What happened to Vivek?
He's like running for governor of Ohio, I think.
You'd think he'd do like one appearance somewhere sometime. I feel like he fell off the face of the earth ever since the H-1B visa thing.
I think that I think Trump like said something nice about him a few weeks ago. So, well, I guess we'll just see.
Isn't it interesting that we're having this big old discussion about student visas, and the whole entire visa discussion was already had back when the H-1B thing happened way back in the day.
These are different kinds of visas. So now there's two more involved in the Harvard thing. So we're basically like going to take all the rest of the visas. And by the way, figure out what other visas there are.
Yep.
And you can probably go some distance to figuring out the sort of info op and disclosure op that will be built around the exposure of that issue in order to add that onto the pile of visa stuff that needs to be wiped away.
Meanwhile, Trump has a $5 million Visa card himself that you can get.
That's right.
To bypass the rest of the visa discussions. We got 1027 JS for $20.
Can I say one more thing about that?
Sure.
In terms of drainage and the rest of it and how this thing is going to get sorted out. So we got all these massive corporations that have had all these foreign employees in the country over the course of years and years, right? What if they were all forced to purchase those $5 million gold cards for each and every one of those illegal aliens that they had brought in to take American jobs? All of a sudden, those corporations would be getting drained massively. They would get to keep their workforce, but they would get drained in an extraordinary way.
How would you force that? How would you force that retroactively?
I mean, you can certainly do it through banking. And I mean, there's plenty of ways they can do it. We talked about a way that they could do some of it, at least in the discussion earlier about the Defense Production Act, stuff that there's certainly enough provisions. And ultimately, at some point, it comes down to power against power. And if it's like, do you want to survive in a weakened form where you have made whole the American people, or do you want me to just completely destroy you?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It seems like that's what it's got to be. Not
I
just
feel like some of those discussions
all around the world signing up for $5 million like American citizenship. I think it's got to be.
It makes you wonder if some of those things have already happened, and so that I love that stuff. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And we made that. No. Anyway, came back to the rants here. 1027 JS says, thanks. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you as always. Old School 69, if quantum computers are legit, does it give sketchy people like the Charles and Fraudlewski some credibility for pushing their quantum financial system lies from the past 5 years? I don't know if I can get myself to give people like that credibility, but that's just me. Wedge Gravy, the best visualization of what Kwast is talking about is the final scene of the movie Contact. Oh, that's it. We can maybe end with that one tonight.
Yeah, let me find it.
Okay. Vincent Talon says, perception is reality, not my truth, but truth. Sim crap is crap. It's about perception and reality. God is, so we are. Seek truth beyond perception. John 1, 1 John 1. Thank you for that, Vincent Talon. Thank you for the rant. Listen for hope. We are the quantum computers. This is what has been hidden. I like it. Roger Paul 59. It sounds like General Kwast is ascribing Looking Glass. He kind of was, wasn't he? And Lisa Poncho was now a monthly supporter. Thank you. Rise of Tire Badlanders, make sure to take advantage of the Memorial Day weekend sale and grab the Rise International Badlands merch you've been eyeing up. From now till midnight Monday, use code HONOR at checkout for 17% off. That's the video I played earlier. Throw that back up real quick. Memorial Day sale. Badlandsmedia.tv/Rise, promo code HONOR. Thank you, Rise. Julie JN, I sent you a DM on X with info on APL's uncle. Okay, I'll check that out. Also, the stuff with Kwast is way above my brain capability. However, my son did just assign to an unmanned ship in the Navy. Kwast did talk about that. That's interesting. Keith Higgins, hey, John, if you're still looking for ideas for an AI short film, combine the two big tropes from the VP race. Have JD Vance making love to a Badlands couch while Tim Walz milks a horse.
Oh, no.
I'm not typing that into AI, but thank you for the rant. Babufian says, Cash and Bongino holding back, can't release evidence needed for convictions. We talked about that earlier. Jay Ricken, if Epstein is in witness protection, can Bongino legally say anything to blow his cover? I mean, saying it's an active investigation is at least better than lying, and I feel like that wouldn't blow his cover. Dave Theory 21, Epstein killed himself when he allowed himself to get caught and be put in a place where he could be murdered. There now we can be at square one again, solved. What's gravy? Does anyone else think that Flynn's posts are more authoritative since the dude got moved from NSA to UN?
Who? Mike Waltz? Is that what we're talking about?
No,
Mike Waltz getting moved from NSA to the United Nations?
Said Flynn.
Yeah. He's saying has General Flynn become more outspoken, I think.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Interesting.
And more direct in his communications since Waltz got moved out of NSA.
Yeah, that is interesting. I haven't really.
And what would the implication be then? That Flynn is operating in that position while it's technically Marco Rubio?
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. That's an interesting thought. Yeah, I'll chew on that one. Thank you for the rant. The Alpha Warrior Show. Good to see you, man. Flynn's all caps on COG caught my attention. Devo shout out. Fork the CCP. A lot of commie stuff going on tonight. It's kind of cool. Keith Higgins, should an interviewer ever ask a gay man about his bailiwick? I did think it was funny in that Besson clip. I love the word bailiwick. Q Fan Addict says, must see vid if you didn't follow the 2015 debates. Marco mocks size of Donald J. Trump's hands. I love that video. Inferring if hands are small, Donald J. Trump clarifies before the entire world, there's no problem. That is a funny video. And then Chef Rico says, do y'all trust anyone? If so, who?
No. Why would anyone do that?
I mean, I kind of trust Chris Paul.
Thanks. Well,
but only with access to my StreamYard.
I mean, you trust the people who are closest to you in your life and people you interact with and people you know. You don't trust other people. I don't even know why people are inclined to feel the need that they must trust some set of television characters. Like the goal is to figure out which television characters you can trust. You can't trust any of them. Like, I don't want people's trust. I don't require your trust. I'll either make the case and it will be convincing to you and you will reroute your thinking, or you will not. Like, I don't need anybody to trust me.
I agree. And we've told you that all the time. Like, we don't expect you guys to trust us here at Badlands. We want you to use your own discernment. But keep watching us, even if you don't trust us. That's cool. But that's all the rants, man. And so we have the contact video. Chris made a good point in the chat. It's going to get us kicked off YouTube. So.
But I mean, it's the end of the episode. It's not, and we can just make the YouTube AI cut it out. But the problem is that the YouTube, the way the thing works is it blocks the video.
That's
and then
fine.
You have to have the AI clip it out later.
Yeah. So we'll figure that out later. So I'm going to play two videos here. One, I'm going to play one more clip from Sean Ryan during the interview, and then I'm going to play the contact thing. So there'll be two clips here back to back. But we'll end with that. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Chris, man, as always, it was a good time.
Good hanging.
Good hanging. Catch you later, guys.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Hey, it's one of your little drawings. It goes pole vaults over the thing. Here you go.
Wow.
Wow.
It's going to be our honeymoon.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Right?
Wow.
Wow. Flippers and all. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. No wonder she wanted to lead.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow, look at this. Do you know what this means? Wow, welcome to the 700 Club, kid. Oh, we're stuck. Hey, I can see our hotel from here. Oh. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, a little heart and everything. Wow. Wow. Buckingham Palace. Wow, we're a long way from home, boy. Wow, it didn't take Gauguin long to start steaming in.
Wow.
Wow, that's a good message. Wow, I don't know what it is about this city. Wow, you're so dominant. Oh. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Oh man, I feel like wow. It's like I come over, it's like I don't know what to expect. I gotta be honest. I come in, it's like a little like I'm trying to get my bearings. There's cartoons, your mom, and it's like you still got it.
Wow.